Welcome back, gardeners and growers. If you've ever looked at your compost pile and thought, why does this take so long to break down? Then today's method is going to change the way you see compost forever. In this guide, I'll share exactly what happened when we layered compost with grass clippings, left it for 30 days, and opened it up to discover the transformation inside. Spoiler alert, it turned into some of the richest, most microbe-packed material we've ever seen, and the plants absolutely loved it. Let's start with the basics. Composting works on a balance between carbon-rich materials, the browns, and nitrogen-rich materials, the greens. Most gardeners know this, but what many don't realize is that grass clippings, something almost everyone has access to, are one of the most powerful nitrogen boosters you can add to your compost. Freshly cut grass is like a turbocharger for microbial activity. When combined with mature compost, the results are nothing short of amazing. Here's what we did. Instead of tossing grass clippings into a random pile where they usually mat together, go slimy, and start to stink, we used them strategically. We created layers, alternating between compost and grass clippings. Think of it like building a lasagna for your soil. One layer of mature compost to provide the microbial base, followed by a generous layer of fresh grass clippings to supply nitrogen, moisture, and energy for the microbes. We kept repeating this until we had a neat stack about 2 feet high. The key here is moisture control. Grass clippings already have high water content, so they can cause anaerobic or oxygen-poor conditions if piled too thick. To avoid this, we made sure each grass layer was no more than 2 inches thick. On top of that, we sprinkled in some dry carbon material, like shredded leaves, cardboard, or straw, just to make sure airflow stayed balanced. Finally, we gave the entire stack a light watering to activate the microbes, then covered it with a tarp to hold in heat and prevent it from drying out. Now here's the magic. Within just a few days, the pile started heating up dramatically. If you've ever measured the temperature of an active compost pile, you know it can easily reach 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to kill weed seeds, break down pathogens, and, well, accelerate decomposition like crazy. When we checked the pile at the end of the first week, steam was rising as soon as we pulled the tarp back. The smell, sweet, earthy, and clean. None of that foul odor that often comes with poorly managed grass clippings. By the second week, the transformation was visible. The bright green clippings had already darkened, and the texture was beginning to crumble, instead of clump. Worms were starting to show up at the edges, drawn by the warmth and the decaying organic matter. By week 3, the worms had moved in full force, working the edges while the center of the pile stayed hot and active. When we turned the pile open, what we found was nothing short of gardening gold. The grass clippings had completely broken down, blending seamlessly with the compost. Instead of slimy mats, we had dark, rich, humus-like material that smelled like a forest floor after a rainstorm. The structure was crumbly, light, and full of microbial life. This wasn't just compost, it was supercompost, infused with nitrogen, balanced by carbon, and teeming with beneficial organisms ready to enrich the soil. So why does this method work so well? The answer lies in synergy. Compost on its own has microbes, but it often needs fresh fuel to keep those microbes thriving. Grass clippings, when used carefully, provide that fuel. The microbes go into overdrive, breaking everything down faster and more completely. It's like giving your compost pile an all-you-can-eat buffet of fresh greens while still maintaining balance thanks to the layering process. The best part is how the plants responded once we used this material. We added it to a raised bed of leafy greens, and within a week, the color of the leaves deepened into a vibrant, healthy green. Growth accelerated, and the soil itself seemed to hold more moisture. Instead of water running off or pooling, it soaked in and stayed consistent. Clear proof that this microbe-rich compost was improving soil structure as well as fertility. Another bonus, this method costs absolutely nothing. Grass clippings are often wasted, bagged up, and thrown to the curb. But in reality, they're one of the most valuable soil resources you have access to right in your backyard. When paired with compost, which many of us are already making, The two combine into a system that multiplies the results while cutting down on waiting time. Of course, there are a few things to keep in mind. Avoid using clippings from lawns treated with herbicides or pesticides, as these chemicals can persist in compost and harm your plants. Also, don't overload the pile with grass. Remember, thin layers work best. Finally, keep the pile covered and moist but not soggy. With those simple rules in place, you'll be amazed at what you can produce in just a month. So there you have it, the 30-day compost and grass clipping experiment that turned ordinary scraps into extraordinary soil food. It's fast, it's free, and it's one of the most effective ways to build humus and microbial life without waiting the usual 6 months to a year for compost to mature. If you're ready to supercharge your garden, try this method on your next batch. I guarantee your plants will reward you with stronger growth, deeper roots, and harvests you'll be proud of. And before you go, if you found this experiment helpful, make sure to subscribe.